The sun was sinking behind the tall baobab trees when Amina first felt the strange heaviness in her chest. It was the kind of heaviness that did not come from sickness, but from spirits whispering warnings that human ears could barely understand. In her village of Mbuli, people believed that the wind carried messages, and that ancestors hid their voices in the rustling leaves. Amina had grown up with these beliefs, and though she lived in a modern stone house at the edge of the savannah, the old ways still lived deep inside her bones. Her husband Kato had not returned home since morning. That alone was not strange, for he often travelled to the town market to buy supplies for his workshop. But this time Amina's heart felt unsettled. The drums from the distant hills sounded restless, and the breeze carried a scent she could not name, like smoke mixed with sorrow. Even the cattle near the river behaved strangely, turning their heads toward the forest as though listening to something unseen. Amina stood outside her home, her wrap fluttering in the wind, and watched the dusty road stretching across the savannah. Twilight painted the sky in orange and purple streaks, and shadows lengthened like long fingers reaching across the earth. She touched the beaded necklace her late mother had given her. The pendant, carved from old ebony wood, was said to protect the heart from betrayal. But as she held it that evening, she felt no comfort. Inside the house, her phone buzzed. It was a notification from the bank. She frowned. The message read, 182,000 charged at Golden Plaza Boutique. Amina blinked. She knew that place. It was a high-end mall in the nearby city, a place her mother-in-law Mama Kina loved more than she loved morning prayers. But the amount was too large for groceries or simple shopping. And worse, the credit card used belonged to Amina. The card she only kept for emergencies. The card no one else was supposed to touch. Her fingers trembled. She checked again. Another message appeared. 96,000 charged at Royal Spa Lounge. Her breath caught. Mama Kina could be extravagant, but she always called before borrowing anything. This felt different, urgent, wrong, like someone was taking from her without care. Amina opened her banking app and scrolled through the transactions. There were 8 charges in the last 3 hours, each one bigger than the last. A new fear crept up her spine. "Where is Kato?" she whispered to the wind. As if responding, the baobab trees creaked loudly. A bird shrieked from the branches. And somewhere deep in the forest, a drumbeat echoed, slow, steady, ancient. Amina grabbed her shawl and stepped into the house. She tried to call her husband, no answer. She tried again, still nothing. Then she hesitated. Should she call Mama Kina? Her mother-in-law was a powerful woman, feared by many. Some called her sharp-tongued. Others said she had the eyes of a hawk, always watching, always judging. But Amina had never feared her, until now. With a deep breath, she dialed. "Hello," Mama Kina's voice came through, cheerful, breathless, and strangely excited. "Mama," Amina said slowly, "where are you?" There was a pause, too long to be innocent. Then Mama Kina laughed lightly, but the laughter did not reach her voice. "Oh, Amina, my daughter, I am just out in town running errands. Why?" "I received messages," Amina said carefully, "from the bank. My credit card, someone used it." Another uneasy pause. The wind pressed against the windows as if listening. "Ah," Mama Kina said finally. Yes, I borrowed it for something small, nothing to worry about." "Small," Amina repeated. "Mama, almost 300,000 is gone." A voice whispered behind Mama Kina's words, muffled like another woman giggling. Amina froze. "Who is with you?" she asked in a low voice. "Nobody," Mama Kina snapped quickly. "Just people in the shop. Do not worry yourself. I will explain when I come home." But the wind outside howled suddenly, rattling the door. The ancestors were restless. Amina ended the call slowly and placed the phone on the table. Her heart felt like a stone sinking into deep water. Something was wrong. Something hidden. Something dangerous. She stepped out of the house again, feeling the night closing around her like a cloak of secrets. The moon rose above the distant mountains, glowing pale and watchful. The savannah grass swayed like waves under its silver light. Amina closed her eyes. Her grandmother had taught her long ago that if you opened your heart, the land would speak. So she breathed deeply and listened. At first, she heard nothing but the rustle of the grass and the cry of a night bird. Then, very softly, a whisper. "Follow the truth before it destroys you." Her eyes opened sharply. The whisper seemed to come from the trees, or maybe from inside her own mind. She did not know. But she knew one thing. She had to find out what was happening. She grabbed her small leather bag and walked toward the road. If she hurried, she would reach the city plaza before it closed. The night breeze brushed against her skin, and the scent of wild sage filled the air as she hurried across the dusty path. Along the way, she passed the old hill shrine where elders used to pray. A stone idol sat there, worn by time but glowing faintly under the moonlight. Amina felt a strange pull toward it. She placed her hand on the cold stone surface. "Guide me," she whispered. A sudden gust of wind swirled around her ankles, lifting dust from the ground. The idol seemed to hum softly, like a drumbeat beneath the earth. She stepped back, startled, but she felt a surge of courage filling her chest. The ancestors had heard her. She walked faster. When she reached the main road, she boarded a passing taxi heading toward Golden Plaza. The driver, a thin man with wise eyes, kept glancing at her through the mirror. "You are walking into the lion's mouth tonight," he said softly. Amina stiffened. "What do you mean?" The man did not answer immediately. Instead, he hummed an old village song, the kind sung to warn travelers about spirits that wear human faces. After a long moment, he said, "Sometimes the people closest to you hold the deepest shadows." His words chilled her more than the cold wind. They drove in silence after that, but Amina's mind raced. Every bump in the road made her heart beat faster. Every howl of wind felt like a warning. When the taxi finally entered the bright city lights, Amina saw Golden Plaza glowing like a giant jewel. Expensive cars lined the parking lot. Music echoed from the entrance. Her phone buzzed again. Another charge. 114,000 Velvet Orchid Couture. A boutique known for luxury dresses. Her stomach tightened. She stepped out of the taxi and walked toward the entrance. The glass doors slid open, and warm lights spilled over her. She scanned the shops one by one, her eyes sharp, her breath shaky. Then she saw her. Mama Kina, wearing a bright red shawl, laughing loudly, holding several shopping bags. But it was the person beside her that made Amina's blood turn cold. A young woman. Tall, slim, dressed in a tight golden dress with long braids falling down her back. She leaned close to Mama Kina, smiling sweetly, her hand touching Kato's mother as if they were old friends. But Amina recognized her. She had seen her once, only once, months ago near Kato's workshop, stepping out of a motorbike taxi, adjusting her hair as she looked around. Her presence had made Amina uneasy, though she could not explain why. Her name was Zuri. Rumors said she was beautiful, charming, and dangerously persuasive. Some whispered she had the kind of beauty that pulled men like a spell. Amina watched from behind a pillar as Mama Kina handed Zuri one of the shopping bags. The young woman opened it, laughed with delight, and hugged Mama Kina tightly. Amina's hands shook. Why were they together? Why using her credit card? And where was Kato? Her heart pounded so loudly it drowned out the music around her. She felt heat rising to her face, anger mixing with fear. She was about to step forward when she saw something that made her freeze completely. Zuri lifted her phone and showed Mama Kina a photo. Amina saw it only for a second, but it was enough. Her husband, Kato, standing next to Zuri. His arm around her waist. Smiling. Amina felt the world tilt, the lights blurred. The drums in her ears grew loud and violent like thunder rolling across the plains. For a moment she could not breathe. Mama Kina laughed again and said something Amina could not hear. Zuri nodded with a smug smile. Amina stepped back into the shadows, her breath shaking. The betrayal was not only real, it was deeper than she had feared. She clutched her necklace again. The wooden pendant felt hotter than before, as if reacting to her pain. The ancestors were speaking again. A cold whisper spilled into her mind. You must see everything, even the darkness. Amina turned away from the boutique, tears burning in her eyes. Her world felt shattered. The trust she built with Kato, the respect she held for Mama Kina, everything felt like sand slipping through her fingers. But she did not cry. Not yet. Instead, she walked slowly toward a bench and sat down, the city lights reflecting across her face. She watched people passing by, laughing, shopping, living freely, while her heart battled storms inside her chest. Then slowly, determination rose in her like fire. She wiped her eyes. She picked up her phone. She opened the bank app. Her finger hovered over the option. Freeze credit card. The ancestors whispered again, stronger this time. Protect yourself. And without hesitation, Amina pressed the button. The card froze instantly. At that exact moment across the plaza, Mama Kina's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen, confused. Zuri frowned. Amina stood up quietly, her heart calm but burning with truth. This was only the beginning. The winds of Mbuli village stirred again, swirling through the city streets as if carrying messages from a world older than time. Amina took a deep breath. Whatever hid in the shadows, she would uncover it. Whatever secrets her husband kept, she would face them. She turned away from the plaza lights and walked into the night. Behind her, distant thunder rolled across the mountains. The ancestors were awake. And the truth was coming. The night swallowed Amina as she walked away from Golden Plaza, but the city lights behind her still flickered like restless spirits. Her steps were steady, though inside her chest a storm raged. Betrayal had its own kind of fire, hot and sharp, burning through her veins as she replayed what she had seen. Mama Kina laughing with Zuri, the mistress holding her husband's picture, both of them spending her money like it was theirs. Amina felt the ancestors moving in the air around her. The wind shifted direction, blowing cold against her back as if urging her home. But she could not go home yet, not with so many questions clawing at her heart. She walked toward the taxi stand. The same driver from earlier was still there, leaning against his old brown car, humming a tune older than the elders of Mbuli village. When he saw her approach, his eyes narrowed with quiet understanding. "You found what you feared," he said softly. Amina swallowed. "I found more than I feared." The driver opened the back door for her. "Get in, the night is heavy, you should not walk alone when the spirits are awake." She hesitated. "How do you know the spirits are awake?" The man pointed to the sky. Clouds moved fast across the moon, like invisible hands pushing them. The air trembled with low humming, the kind that came from faraway hills where ancient shrines still stood. "Tonight," the driver said, "the ancestors speak loudly. Something hidden has come into the light." Amina got into the car slowly. The driver began the journey back toward her village, but he drove differently this time, slower, more cautiously, as if each turn carried weight. For a long moment neither of them spoke. The night sounds filled the silence, crickets chirping, wind brushing against trees, distant drums echoing from a place she couldn't see. Finally Amina whispered, "Why would she help Zuri? Why would Mama support someone who wants to destroy my marriage?" The driver's voice was low. "Sometimes the wound comes not from the stranger's spear, but from the hand you trust." His words struck her deeply. Amina stared out of the window. The city slowly faded behind them, replaced by fields of tall grass dancing under the moonlight. Shadows moved among the grass, shifting as though unseen beings walked beside the road. She felt the ancestors again. Watching, guiding, judging. Her phone buzzed suddenly, breaking the quiet. She looked down. A message from Kato. Her breath caught. She opened it. "I'm working late. I hope everything is okay at home." The lie was sharp, cutting like a poisoned arrow. Amina's hands tightened around the phone. Working late. He was nowhere near his workshop. She had just seen proof, pictures of him with Zuri. Or maybe they were old. Maybe the betrayal had started long ago. Maybe tonight was just one piece of a bigger secret. The driver glanced at her through the mirror. "You are shaking." "I saw him," she whispered, on her phone, smiling with her, holding her. The driver clicked his tongue sadly. "The heart sees long before the eyes accept. You have known something was wrong for weeks, haven't you?" Amina opened her mouth and closed it again. But he was right, she had felt it. In the way Kato avoided her gaze, in the way his hugs became brief, in the way he guarded his phone like a treasure he feared losing. She stared at her hands. "What am I supposed to do now?" The driver did not answer directly. Instead, he said, "When a tree begins to rot from the inside, you do not cut it immediately. You first look for the cause, worms, sickness, poison. Then you decide whether to heal it or let it fall." Amina absorbed his words. She did not know yet whether her marriage could be healed, but she knew one thing. She needed the truth. All of it. The trees thickened as they approached Mbuli. The dusty path that led into her village glowed faintly under the moon. At the entrance, an old woman sat by the roadside, wrapped in a faded cloth, stirring herbs in a small clay pot. Amina recognized her immediately, Nabisa, the village seer. People said her eyes could see into both the living world and the spirit world. As the taxi slowed near her, Nabisa raised her head sharply, as if she had been expecting Amina. Her white hair glowed like starlight. "A storm follows you," she said, her voice echoing with strange power. "A storm of secrets, betrayal, shadows." Amina felt her heart jump. "Mother Nabisa." The old woman lifted a finger. "Do not speak yet." Her milky eyes stared into Amina's soul. "You have touched the edge of the truth," Nabisa murmured. "But the full truth is deeper, darker, wrapped in hands you do not expect." Amina's breath trembled. "Who is hurting me?" "The one you fear," Nabisa said slowly, "but also the one you love, and the one who hides behind both." Amina's body chilled. "I do not understand." "You will," Nabisa whispered, "when the moon becomes full. Until then, protect your spirit. The shadows around you are hungry." Those words stayed with Amina long after the taxi passed the woman and continued down the path. When she finally reached her house, she stepped out slowly. The night air in Mbuli village was different, thicker, older, filled with ancestral presence. She felt watched by unseen eyes. As she walked to her door, she heard something rustle behind her. She turned sharply. Nothing. Only wind pushing against the tall grass. But she felt it. Something had followed her back from the city. She opened the door and stepped inside. Her living room felt unfamiliar, as if the betrayal she had witnessed had changed the shape of her home. She walked to the table and set down her shawl. She checked her phone again. Another message from the bank. Attempted purchase declined, card frozen. Amina pictured Mama Kina's face when the transaction failed. For a brief moment she felt satisfaction, but it vanished quickly, replaced by heavier thoughts. She paced the room, listening to the crickets outside, trying to steady her breathing. Then she heard footsteps. Not outside. Inside. Soft, slow, measured. Coming from the back hallway. Amina froze. Her heart pounded painfully. She reached for the wooden spoon on the table and held it tightly as she stepped forward. "Kato," she whispered. No answer. The hallway was dark, too dark. The shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally toward her as if reaching. She swallowed and moved forward. The wooden floor creaked beneath her feet, each sound echoing through the silent house. She reached the end of the hall and slowly pushed open the bedroom door. It was empty. Completely empty. Yet the air inside the room was cold, unnaturally cold, like breath from a spirit. Her skin prickled. Then she saw it. On her pillow. A small, folded piece of paper. Her heart stuttered. She picked it up with trembling hands. Inside was a single line. "Some truths must stay buried." Amina staggered back. A chill moved through her spine like icy fingers. She dropped the note and turned quickly, scanning the room, her breath short and sharp. Who put the note there? The door had been locked before she left. She felt the ancestors whispering urgently in her ears. "Leave the room. Now." She stepped backward, her hand gripping the wooden spoon tightly. When she reached the hallway again, she closed the bedroom door and leaned against the wall, her heart racing. Someone had been in her house. Someone who wanted to silence her. Her phone rang suddenly, loud and sharp in the quiet night. She jumped, nearly dropping it. The screen showed the name. Mama Kina. Amina's fear slowly hardened into anger. She answered. Before she could speak, Mama Kina's voice exploded through the line. "Amina, what have you done? Why is the card blocked? Why would you embarrass me in public like this? Do you know who was with me? Do you know?" "Yes," Amina cut in quietly. "I know exactly who was with you." Silence. But not empty silence. A tense, dangerous silence. "Amina," Mama Kina began again, voice lower now. "You must not misunderstand." "I saw her," Amina said. Her voice was calm, but every word felt like fire. I saw Zuri, and I saw the picture, the one with Kato. The silence on the phone cracked. Then Mama Kina spoke in a voice that seemed older, sharper, almost metallic. Go to sleep, Amina, some things are not for your eyes. A cold dread filled Amina's stomach. What do you mean? But Mama Kina hung up. Amina lowered the phone slowly, her hands trembling. The room felt darker, the air felt heavier. A new realization crept into her heart. Mama Kina wasn't just defending Zuri. She was hiding something. Something dangerous enough to silence her. Thunder rumbled outside, far but rising. She glanced at the window. The sky had darkened almost unnaturally, as though the clouds were gathering too fast. Amina lit a candle to push back the growing shadows. The flame flickered wildly, bending sideways as if reacting to something unseen in the room. She whispered, "Ancestors, protect me." The candle flame straightened instantly. A sign. She stepped toward the window and looked outside. The wind bent the tall grass. A distant drumbeat echoed from the forest, the same drumbeat she had heard earlier in the evening, slow and ancient. Her grandmother used to say that when drums sounded at night with no hands playing them, it meant the spirit guardians were warning the living. Amina's breath deepened. She moved to the kitchen and poured water from a clay pot. She tried to sip, but her hands shook too much. She set the cup down. Then she heard it. A faint whisper. Not from inside. From outside. Right outside her window. She turned slowly. The whisper came again, carried by the wind. You must seek the truth in the place where the spirits walk. Her heart trembled. She stepped closer to the window and looked out. In the distance, at the edge of the village, she saw a faint light glowing on the old sacred hill. The same hill where Nabisa, the village seer, often prayed. The ancestors were calling her. She wrapped her shawl around her shoulders and stepped outside. The wind pushed against her, almost urging her forward. She walked across the dry earth, past sleeping huts and quiet goats, heading toward the hill. Each step felt guided. Each drumbeat felt like a message. When she reached the foot of the hill, the glow became brighter, blue and soft, like moonlight trapped in mist. Amina climbed the stone steps slowly. The night air grew colder, sharper. The sky above her swirled with dark clouds. Lightning flickered inside the clouds, but no thunder followed. When she reached the top, she saw Nabisa sitting cross-legged on the ground, surrounded by small bowls of burning herbs. Smoke curled into the air, carrying strange scents. The old woman opened her eyes as if she had been waiting. Amina, Nabisa said, the ancestors have shown me what hunts you. Amina's voice shook. What is it? Nabisa pointed to the sky. A lie wrapped in love, a betrayal covered in kindness, a shadow pretending to be family. Amina's breath caught. You mean Mama Kina? Nabisa did not blink. Your mother-in-law has opened her arms to darkness, and she is not acting alone. Amina felt her knees weaken. What must I do? The old seer leaned forward, her face illuminated by the herb flames. You must be strong, she whispered, because the truth will hurt you before it saves you. Amina's heart pounded. The wind roared. The flames rose. And the ancestors whispered through the night. The path has begun, walk it. The sacred hill whispered with wind as Amina stood before Nabisa, the old seer whose eyes held the weight of forgotten centuries. The flames around them danced like spirits waking from long sleep, and the smoke rose in twisting shapes that looked almost human. Amina felt her heart beating like a drum, fast and heavy, each thump echoing through her bones. Nabisa's voice came softly, but it carried power. Amina, tonight you crossed from the world of the living into the world of truth. You do not walk the simple path anymore. Amina tried to steady her voice. Mother Nabisa, what truth is hiding from me? The old woman lifted a handful of white ash from a clay bowl and blew it gently into the air. The ash rose slowly, forming a faint shape, a circle, then a snake, then a woman's face. Amina shivered. Your mother-in-law is touched by jealousy, Nabisa said. Jealousy deep like a river that never dries. She has fed her heart with bitterness for years. Amina frowned, confused and hurting. But why? I have respected her, I have never wronged her. Nabisa shook her head. She does not hate you for what you did. She hates you for what you are, for the peace you bring, for the blessings you carry, for the love her son has for you. Amina took a step back. Love, if he loved me, he would not stand with another woman. Nabisa's eyes softened. Do you believe the smile you saw on that phone tells the full truth, or do you believe there is more? Amina hesitated. Her pain was deep, real, raw, but something inside her spirit whispered that the story was larger than the picture she saw. The wind blew harder around them, and the drumbeat in the distance grew stronger. Nabisa touched Amina's shoulder gently, her fingers cold as night rain. Come sit. Amina obeyed. She sat on the ground beside the seer. Nabisa dipped her fingers into a bowl filled with dark river clay and traced symbols on the earth, swirls, lines, shapes that trembled like they were alive. Then she spoke. Kato is not innocent, but he is not the beginning of this darkness. The root lies deeper, beneath the soil of your family and his. Amina's breath caught. My family. Nabisa nodded. Your grandmother, the one who gave you that wooden pendant, she protected you from a curse placed on the women of your husband's lineage. A chill crept over Amina as she held the pendant. It pulsed slightly under her fingers, as if answering her fear. A curse, she whispered. A curse of broken love, Nabisa said slowly. A curse that makes mothers fight daughters, that turns affection into poison, that blinds sons to the truth. It was cast long ago by a woman who felt wronged by Kato's ancestor. Since then, every generation suffers, trust dies, love fades, families tear apart. Amina closed her eyes tightly. Her heart ached with understanding she did not want. So Mama Kina, she carries the curse in her blood, Nabisa said, and Zuri, she carries a piece of its shadow. Amina looked up sharply. Zuri, how is she connected? Nabisa cupped her hands over the fire. The flames turned dark blue. Zuri is not just a mistress, she whispered. She is drawn to your husband by a force older than either of them. She is used by the curse. Some women are born with hearts that attract darkness. They do not create it, but they carry it unknowingly. Amina frowned. She looked proud, confident, like she knew what she was doing. Oh, she knows what she is doing, Nabisa said. But she does not know why she feels pulled toward married men. She does not know why she destroys homes with ease. She thinks it is beauty, charm, seduction, but the truth. Nabisa leaned forward, eyes shining like stars. She is the curse's hand. Amina's breath trembled. She felt dizzy. Her world was breaking into pieces she could barely hold. So what do I do? Amina whispered. You must uncover the full truth, Nabisa said. Only then can you break what was set in motion long before your birth. A flash of lightning stretched across the sky, bright and sudden. The air shook with invisible power. Amina looked up. The storm grows, Nabisa murmured. Tonight reveals what day cannot. Amina gripped her shawl tightly. Guide me, tell me where to begin. Nabisa pointed toward the forest. The trees swayed like giants breathing deeply in the dark. You must go to the spirit grove. Amina's eyes widened. But no one goes there at night. The elders say spirits walk without masks. They do walk, Nabisa said. But tonight they will not harm you. They will show you what you need to see. Amina hesitated. Fear crawled up her spine. The grove lies between the worlds, Nabisa continued. The living and the dead, the seen and the unseen. If you go there now, the truth will come, but you must be strong. What you find may break your heart. Amina swallowed hard. I've already broken. The seer touched her cheek gently. No, child, you are cracking, not breaking. When the truth finally comes, you will choose whether to shatter or to become stronger than the curse itself. Amina rose slowly to her feet. The wind whipped her shawl around her body. Nabisa gathered herbs and placed them in Amina's hand. These will protect your spirit, the old woman said. Burn them when the shadows grow too close. Amina nodded, though fear still trembled inside her. Go, Nabisa said, follow the drums. Amina turned and began descending the hill. As she walked, the air grew colder. The drumbeats became clearer, deep, rhythmic, echoing from the heart of the forest. She followed them across the open plains, past a dry riverbed and into the trees. The spirit grove was a place elders warned children never to visit after sunset. Stories said the souls of ancient warriors guarded it, walking in circles to keep the living from stumbling into forbidden realms. As Amina approached the edge of the forest, the trees opened like a doorway. Fireflies floated in the air, glowing bright green. She stepped inside. The moment she did, everything changed. The forest grew quiet, too quiet. No crickets, no wind, no birds, only the soft hum of something unseen, something breathing slowly beneath the earth. Amina walked deeper. The branches above formed shapes like old hands reaching toward her. The ground glowed faintly with a pale blue light, as if the spirits lit the path. Her heart pounded. Then she heard it. A voice. Soft. Female. Familiar. Amina. Amina froze, the voice sounded like her grandmother's. Grandmother, she whispered. The wind twisted around her, warm like a hug, carrying the scent of her grandmother's herbs. Amina, you must be strong. Amina's eyes filled with tears. Grandmother, I don't understand the things happening to me. The voice continued, gentle and melodic. The curse hunts your happiness, but you carry the power to end it, you must find the root. Amina wiped her tears. Where do I look, who do I trust? Look where the lies sleep, the voice whispered. Look where Kato hides his pain. Amina's breath caught, pain, but he betrayed. Not all betrayal begins with desire, the voice murmured. Sometimes fear pushes a person toward darkness. Amina felt her blood run cold. Fear of what? The wind shifted, the blue light around her flickered. Suddenly she saw something ahead, a tall shape, human-shaped, standing between two trees. Amina's breath stopped. She stepped closer. The figure grew clearer, broad shoulders, tall stance, familiar posture. Kato, she whispered. The figure did not turn. It stood like a shadow carved from night. She moved closer, slowly, cautiously. When she reached 3 steps away, the figure dissolved into mist and scattered like smoke. Amina gasped. Then the mist. Night fell over the village like a slow-moving shadow, heavy and watchful. The moon rose pale and thin, as if afraid to shine too brightly on the secrets that now clung to every corner of Namaru's life. She walked back from the river path with her heart trembling like a drumskin under a hunter's strike. Elder Combo's warnings echoed inside her. The dead are restless around you. Something in your home breathes with 2 faces. Her mother-in-law's credit card, the mistress, her husband's strange behavior, these were no longer simple human betrayals. They felt like threads pulled from something deeper, older, something that had waited in silence until she stumbled upon it. When Namaru reached her hut, the fire outside had nearly died. The darkness felt thicker than usual, pressing close, listening. She pushed open the wooden door and froze. Her husband, Sefu, sat alone on the mat, but he wasn't looking at her. His eyes were fixed on the window where the moonlight seeped in. His chest moved slow, too slow. His hands trembled on his knees as if some invisible weight pressed down on him. Sefu, she whispered. He didn't blink, didn't turn, didn't breathe normally. Namaru stepped closer. Sefu. This time he turned sharply as though shocked awake. And when he looked at her, there was something in his eyes she had never seen, fear. Not fear of her, fear for her. Where did you go? Sefu murmured. Why did you stay out so long? He said it with a trembling softness, but beneath it she heard another tone, a warning. I went to Elder Combo, she said. He stiffened. Even the fire's last ember seemed to snap at that moment. Why? His voice deepened. Why would you bring him into this? She folded her arms. Because something is wrong, Sefu. Your mother hides things from me. And you, she swallowed, you have been living like a man with ghosts breathing down his neck. Sefu's jaw clenched. There are no ghosts. There are, she whispered, and you know it. Silence stretched between them, thick as swamp mud. Outside, a wind swept through the trees, rustling the leaves with a strange hiss, almost like a whisper. Sefu looked toward the sound, then lowered his head into his hands. I did not want this, he said, any of it. Namaru sat slowly, watching him. Then tell me the truth. For a long time he didn't speak. The fire died completely, leaving the hut glowing with moonlight alone. Finally, Sefu looked up, eyes dark with dread. You remember when my father died? Namaru nodded slowly. It had been barely a year. He had been healthy, strong, feared and respected in equal measure. He didn't die of sickness, Sefu whispered. He died of a curse. The air changed. Even the moonlight seemed to pull back. What curse? Namaru asked, voice barely audible. Sefu's hands shook. A curse placed on our family a long time ago, before I was born, before my mother became who she is now. Namaru felt her skin grow cold. Your mother knows. She's the reason it still lives. He swallowed hard. She made a pact to keep its power. She wanted control, influence, wealth. She wanted the spirits to serve her, but the spirits do not serve anyone freely. Namaru's breath caught. The credit card, the money, the strange shopping with the mistress, none of it felt normal even then. She had dismissed it as petty betrayal, family manipulation, greed, but now it felt like pieces of an ancient puzzle. "What does this curse want from you?" she whispered. Sefu looked at her with hollow eyes. "It wants the next blood, the next bond. It wants the strength of our marriage." Namaru's chest tightened. "Our marriage." "It feeds on betrayal," he said. "Not yours, mine. Every lie, every secret, every wrong step I took, it was feeding something. Something my mother promised would remain loyal to her." Namaru's mouth dried. "Your mother, she used us." "Yes," Sefu whispered. "She needed a wife for me, a woman strong in spirit, a woman whose loyalty could be twisted, whose trust could be broken. The curse gains power when love is wounded." A cold wave washed over Namaru's heart, but something else struck her too. "The mistress, eh? Was the affair real?" she asked quietly. "Is she real?" Sefu shut his eyes, shame breaking across his face like a storm. "Yes." It was a single word, small yet crushing, like a stone dropped into deep water. Namaru felt pain slice through her chest, raw and sharp, but beneath it something else stirred. The story was deeper than betrayal, deeper than hurt feelings. "Sefu," she whispered, "why did you follow your mother's path? Why become part of this?" "I didn't choose it," he said. "When I was younger, she took me to the old spirit keepers. She said she wanted to protect our family, but she only protected herself. They marked me, bound me, said I must carry the curse's shadow." He covered his face. "I never wanted to hurt you, but every time I tried to be good, the curse pushed me another way." Namaru stared at him, heart twisting. Suddenly, the memory of seeing her mother-in-law shopping with the mistress returned to her with new clarity. They hadn't looked like two women simply running errands. They had looked like two people bound by secret purpose. "Why was your mother with her?" Namaru asked. Sefu's face went pale as ash. "You saw them." "Yes." He shuddered violently. "That means it has already started." "What has started?" He swallowed, trembling. "The ritual, the shift. The curse feeds on the emotional fracture between us, and then consumes the weaker one." Namaru froze. "Consumes." "Not your body," Sefu whispered. "Your spirit, your essence, your future. You will live, but the light inside you will belong to it." Suddenly the room grew colder than before. The wind outside howled louder, swirling dust around the hut. Something ancient, unseen, seemed to draw closer. Namaru steadied her voice. "So your mother needed the affair to break me?" "Yes," he said weakly. "But I swear at first I resisted. The mistress, she is tied to the curse too. She isn't just a woman, she was chosen. Groomed, prepared, she listens to my mother. She follows her. She watches me. And when my mother tells her to act, she acts." Namaru felt sick. This was no simple betrayal. This was manipulation woven through generations. "What does your mother want from all this?" she asked. Sefu's eyes filled with tears of regret. "She wants to become the next keeper." "Keeper of what?" "The spirit that cursed our family," Sefu said. "The one our ancestors tried to bury, but my mother wants its power. She thinks if she controls it, she will never age, never lose her wealth, never lose her influence." Namaru's mind raced. "So she sacrifices her family." "That is the price," Sefu whispered. "The keeper must offer a binding, a bond broken, a loyal heart shattered." Namaru's breath shook, her heart. The betrayal, the lies, the mistress, it was all intentional. A sacrifice. A ritual of emotional destruction, meant to fuel a spirit older than the village itself. She stood slowly. "Sefu, your mother cannot take my spirit unless I let my heart break, unless I surrender, unless I give it willingly." Sefu looked up sharply. "You are strong, Namaru, too strong. That is why she fears you, that is why she watches you." The hairs on Namaru's arms rose. "She watches me." He nodded. "Every night, through shadows, through whispers, through her." "Her." Sefu hesitated. "The mistress." A chill ran down Namaru's spine. The image of the woman standing beside her mother-in-law flashed in her mind, her eyes too calm, her smile too fixed. Namaru stepped toward the door. Where is she now? Sefu's voice cracked. If they have begun the ritual, they will be waiting by the river shrine. The river shrine. Ancient, forbidden. A place where water spirits whispered to the living, and where villagers left offerings when seeking forgiveness or protection. Namaru felt her heartbeat steady into something fierce. You will not go, Sefu said desperately. If you set foot there, the spirit will see you. It will take your strength, it will swallow your light. Namaru turned toward him, eyes burning with a fire older than her fear. If I do nothing, it will take me anyway, but if I face it, I still have a chance. You do not understand how dangerous. I understand betrayal, Namaru said sharply. I understand lies, I understand fear, but I also understand this. I will not let your mother decide my fate. She stepped outside into the night. The wind roared, shaking the trees. Somewhere in the darkness, drums began to beat, slow, deep, rhythmic, as though calling someone forward. Calling her. Namaru took a breath and faced the path leading to the river shrine. The sky above her churned with clouds, swallowing the moon. The earth felt alive beneath her feet, humming with ancient warning. Behind her, Sefu stumbled out of the hut, voice cracking with dread. Namaru, don't go alone. She didn't turn. Then follow me, she said, or stay here and let the shadows finish what your mother began. Without waiting for his answer, she walked into the forest path where the drums beat louder, where unseen eyes watched, where the river shrine waited like a mouth carved into the earth. And as she disappeared into the night, the spirits of the trees whispered on the wind, as though they knew the next part of the story would change everything. The forest swallowed Namaru in a darkness that felt alive, pulsing with ancient breath. The trees leaned close as though listening to each step she made. Their branches creaked softly in the night wind, whispering warnings in voices too old for human tongues. The drums that called her toward the river shrine grew louder with every step, slow, deep, echoing through the earth like a heartbeat from something buried beneath the soil. She moved with steady resolve, her jaw tight, her heartbeat firm. She felt the weight of betrayal, the sting of lies, the raw ache of a shattered marriage. But beneath all of it lived something far greater, strength. A strength she had never known she possessed until she was forced to face the dark corners of her life. Behind her, Sefu followed at a distance. He stumbled over roots and stones as though the forest, angry with him, refused to give him safe passage. Several times he whispered her name, but she did not slow, did not look back. Her focus was fixed on the distant glow flickering through the trees. Firelight, torches, movement. The river shrine. A place where villagers once came seeking blessings, but now avoided with trembling fear. A place the spirits wandered freely, and where curses found their home. As she approached, the air changed. It grew colder, sharper, filled with the scent of wet earth and river mud. The drums stopped suddenly, leaving a ringing silence behind. Namaru stepped out from the forest and onto the clearing by the riverbank. The shrine stood ahead, an ancient stone arch carved into a giant rock, covered with old symbols that glowed faintly under the moonlight. Torches circled the shrine, their flames bending as if pulled by some unseen force. And there, standing before the arch, was her mother-in-law. Mama Yawa wore a long, dark robe embroidered with red threads that shimmered like blood under firelight. Her eyes gleamed with a strange brightness, and her lips curled into a knowing smile as she watched Namaru approach. Beside Mama Yawa stood the mistress, Sefu's other woman. But now in the eerie half-light, the woman looked nothing like the flirtatious, confident person Namaru had seen in markets and streets. Her skin looked pale and stretched, her eyes too large, too dark, as though someone, or something, had eaten away her soul and replaced it with shadow. She did not blink. She did not breathe normally. She simply stood there like an empty vessel. The sight of them, side by side, filled Namaru with a cold rage. You should not have come here, Mama Yawa said softly, her voice calm, almost gentle. The ritual was already beginning, you only make it easier by arriving. Namaru ignored the chill creeping down her spine. You planned this from the beginning, she said. You used me, you used your own son. My son was born into this, Mama Yawa replied, shrugging lightly. He is bound by the choices of those before him, as are you. Namaru stepped closer, fire burning in her chest. I will not let you take my spirit. Mama Yawa's smile widened. Child, your spirit has been cracking for months. I only pushed it where it needed to go. A broken heart is the strongest sacrifice. The spirit has waited for you. At those words, the river behind the shrine stirred. Ripples spread across the dark water, even though no wind touched it. The torches around the shrine flickered wildly, bending toward the river as if bowing. The water bulged upward, just slightly, but enough for Namaru to feel an ancient presence rising beneath it. Sefu stumbled out from the trees, breathless. "Mother," he gasped, "stop, you cannot finish this." Mama Yawa turned to him with cold amusement. "My son, you have always been weak, always fighting the shadows when you could have embraced them, but tonight the curse will choose the stronger one." She lifted her hand, and Sefu was thrown backward as if struck by invisible force. He hit the ground hard, groaning. Namaru rushed toward him, but a heavy force pressed against her chest, holding her back. Mama Yawa watched with smug satisfaction. "I tried to guide you gently," Mama Yawa said. "But you kept digging, kept asking questions, kept refusing your place. You should have stayed blind, Namaru. It would have saved you pain." Namaru's voice dripped with defiance. "I see now, and I will not let you finish this." Mama Yawa raised both hands. The mistress moved forward like a puppet, stepping toward the shrine. Her shadow detached itself from her feet, stretching toward the river, twisting unnaturally. The arch carved in the rock began to glow brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat. A deep groan rumbled from beneath the water. The spirit was waking, and Namaru felt its attention turn toward her, a pull so strong, so cold, that for a moment she struggled to breathe. Mama Yawa spoke loudly, her voice rising like a chant. "O spirit of the river, O keeper of broken vows, O devourer of hearts, accept this sacrifice, accept her pain, accept her shattered trust, bind her spirit to your eternal hunger." The river exploded upward. A column of dark water rose like a twisting serpent, swirling with shadows and light. Two glowing eyes opened within it, ancient, watchful, hungry. The torches extinguished instantly, plunging everything into darkness except for the glow of that monstrous form. Namaru felt her knees weaken, but she stood firm. The spirit's voice echoed without sound, vibrating through her bones, through her blood, through her memories of love and betrayal. "Bring the broken one, bring the cracked soul, bring the heart I was promised." Mama Yawa pointed at Namaru. "She is ready." The spirit moved toward Namaru, the water shifting, stretching, reaching for her. And in that moment, Namaru understood something. The spirit fed on brokenness, but she was no longer broken. She was angry, she was awake, she was determined. She was not the same woman who had cried alone in her hut weeks ago. She inhaled sharply, steadied her trembling hands and shouted, "You cannot take me, I am not a sacrifice." The spirit froze mid-motion, the water rippled uncertainly. Mama Yawa snarled, "Be silent, you belong to it." "I belong to myself," Namaru said, voice rising. The river glowed brighter, the spirit's eyes narrowed, studying her. Sefu struggled to stand, clutching his chest. "Namaru, you can fight it, the curse is old. It is powerful, but it cannot take what is whole, it only consumes broken souls." Mama Yawa turned on him with fury. "You fool, she is broken, you made sure of that." "No," Sefu whispered, staring at Namaru with desperate hope. "She is stronger than you ever understood." Namaru lifted her chin. The wind swirled around her, carrying the scent of earth, fire and river. Her heart pounded like a drum, steady, powerful. "I choose my own fate," she said to the spirit. "You will not have me." The spirit recoiled slightly. A low rumble vibrated through the clearing. "If I cannot take you, I will take the one who broke you." The water twisted sharply, aiming itself at Sefu. He gasped, frozen with terror. "No," Namaru shouted, "do not take him." Mama Yawa laughed, delighted. "Let it take him, he is weaker, he belongs to the curse as his father did." The spirit reached for Sefu. Namaru lunged forward, her hands glowing faintly with a warm, golden light she did not recognize. The glow streamed from her palms, forming a barrier between Sefu and the spirit. A hiss of pain erupted from the watery form. Mama Yawa's eyes widened. "What is that? How does she have light?" The mistress stepped back, trembling violently as if the light burned her from afar. Sefu stared in awe. "Namaru, your ancestors." The realization hit Namaru like a bolt of lightning. Her ancestors, her lineage. Her spirit strength didn't come from Mama Yawa's curse or from Sefu's broken lineage. It came from her own family, women and men who had stood against spirits, who had healed curses, who had protected light for generations. The water spirit thrashed, confused, weakened. Namaru planted her feet firmly and lifted her glowing hands higher. "You cannot take me," she said calmly, "and you cannot take him either. The cycle ends tonight." The spirit roared, a sound that shook the trees and sent waves crashing across the riverbank. But the golden light only grew brighter, forming a dome around Namaru and Sefu. Mama Yawa screamed in fury, "You will not ruin this for me. I waited too long. I suffered too much." She rushed toward Namaru with a dagger carved from bone, its blade glowing with dark energy. Namaru turned just in time. Mama Yawa swung the blade downward, aiming for her heart. But the spirit struck first. A massive wave of dark water shot forward, slamming into Mama Yawa. She screamed as she was lifted off her feet, pulled toward the arch. Her robe tore, her hair whipped wildly, and the shadows around her clung to her skin like hungry claws. "No, spirit, I am your keeper," she shrieked. "I command you." But the spirit did not listen. It dragged her toward the river, toward its own heart, toward the depths where curses fed and faded. The mistress collapsed on the ground, her body trembling, her face slack, free of whatever shadow had possessed her. She began to sob quietly, as though waking from a nightmare. Sefu crawled toward Namaru. You saved me." She kept her eyes on the raging water. "I saved myself." The spirit howled one last time, a wail filled with centuries of hunger and pain. Then the water collapsed in on itself, dragging Mama Yawa into the river's depths. The torches rekindled with sudden fire, as if the forest exhaled for the first time in years. And then everything fell silent. The curse had been broken. But the night was far from over. Namaru stood tall, breathing heavily, knowing the final reckoning waited ahead. The riverbank lay silent after the spirit sank into its depths, taking Mama Yawa with it. The torches flickered weakly, as though exhausted by the struggle they had witnessed. Mist drifted across the water, weaving slowly through the trees, softening the sharp edges of the night. Namaru stood unmoving, her chest rising and falling as she tried to understand what had just happened, what she had just done. The light that had poured from her hands was gone now, replaced by a deep aching tiredness spreading through her bones. Her body felt heavy, yet her spirit felt strangely light, like a door had opened inside her. Sefu staggered to his feet, bruised, shaken, his clothes soaked from the waves that had punched through the clearing. He looked at Namaru as if seeing her for the first time, as though she were someone entirely different from the woman he had betrayed and taken for granted. "Namaru," he whispered, voice breaking, I never understood what strength you carried. I never deserved it." She did not answer, not yet. Not while her heart was still storming with memories of lies, of hurt, of his mother's schemes, of her own long nights crying alone. She wasn't ready to speak forgiveness. She wasn't even sure if forgiveness was something she wanted to give. The mistress, Asha, sat trembling on the ground, hugging her knees as if trying to keep her pieces together. The darkness that had twisted her features earlier was gone, washed away when the spirit lost its power. Now she looked like an ordinary young woman, haunted. Ashamed but human. Sefu turned to her. "Asha, are you hurt?" Asha shook her head slowly. "No, just free, I think." Her voice trembled as she spoke, as if unused for long moments. She dared not look at Namaru. Namaru watched her quietly. Once she might have felt rage toward this woman, but now she saw something else, someone caught in a web they never fully understood. Someone who had made choices, yes, but not always freely. Still, forgiveness was not hers to offer, not tonight. "Go home," Namaru said softly but firmly. "Leave this place. Leave this family's curse behind, start again." Asha blinked in confusion. You are letting me go." Namaru nodded. "The darkness used you, my anger will not." Asha's lips trembled. Tears spilled silently down her cheeks. Without another word, she lifted herself and began to walk away barefoot, disappearing slowly into the forest's edge like a shadow retreating with the dawn. Only Namaru and Sefu remained by the river shrine. The silence between them was heavier than any curse. Sefu stepped closer. "Namaru, I don't know how to begin asking for forgiveness." She finally looked at him, her eyes calm but unreadable. "Then don't begin with words, begin with truth." He swallowed. "The truth is I failed you. Before the curse pushed me, before my mother whispered poison, before the shadows clouded my judgment, I failed you. You trusted me, you honored me, you stood by me, and I repaid you with lies." Namaru listened without interrupting. The river flowed beside them, gentle now, as if the ancient spirit's anger had been carried away with Mama Yawa's final breath. "I thought I was strong," Sefu continued. "But I was weak for attention, weak for my mother's approval, weak before temptation. And I used the curse as an excuse when it was convenient, but the truth is your heart broke because of me, not because of spirits." For the first time, he met her eyes without looking away. "I am sorry." Namaru closed her eyes. His apology settled inside her like a soft stone dropped into deep water, causing ripples but not drowning her. "I cannot return to who I was before tonight," she said quietly, "and neither can you." Sefu nodded slowly. "I know." She walked toward the edge of the river, looking at her reflection. The moonlight made her skin glow, and her eyes shimmered with something different, not pain, not grief, but clarity. "For so long," she whispered, "I thought strength meant enduring everything quietly, suffering in silence, holding a marriage together even when the weight was crushing me. I thought it made me loyal, I thought it made me good." Sefu stepped beside her. "You were loyal, you were good." Namaru shook her head. "I was loyal to the wrong version of us, the version your mother wanted, the version the curse demanded, but tonight the spirits showed me something else." She placed a hand on her chest. "My spirit was never meant to be someone's sacrifice." The wind rustled through the trees, soft, approving. Sefu's voice cracked. "What does this mean for us?" Namaru turned toward him, her face calm as still water. "It means we must walk different paths if we want to heal. Maybe the spirits will let our paths cross again in peace. Maybe not. But tonight taught me one thing. I cannot mend what was broken by walking back into the same darkness." Tears rose in Sefu's eyes. "So you're leaving?" She took a slow breath. "I am choosing myself." A long silence followed. Sefu lowered his head, tears falling to the soil. He did not beg. He did not chase her. He knew this moment had been shaped long before the river erupted, long before the spirit awoke. Namaru turned away and began walking back toward the forest path. Her steps were light, steady, unwavering. The night seemed to part for her, the branches shifting softly to give her passage. The ancestors walked with her now, whispering strength, guidance, and a future untouched by curses. As she moved deeper into the forest, Sefu called out one last time, voice trembling. "Namaru, will you ever forgive me?" She paused but did not turn back. "Maybe one day," she said, "but forgiveness is not the same as returning." And then she walked forward, her silhouette slowly swallowed by the dark, quiet trees. The village stirred with early morning light when Namaru reached its edges. Birds began their songs and roosters crowed, welcoming the dawn. Smoke lifted from a few huts as women began preparing breakfasts. Life felt peaceful, ordinary, yet for Namaru nothing would ever be ordinary again. Elder Combo was waiting outside his hut, as though he had known she would return at that exact moment. He leaned on his staff, his eyes calm, wise, and filled with knowing. "You survived the night," he said gently. "The curse is broken," Namaru replied. He nodded. "Yes, but breaking a curse and healing from its shadow are two different journeys." "I know," she whispered. He touched her shoulder. "Your ancestors are proud. Their light has always been inside you. You simply needed the darkness to reveal it." Namaru breathed deeply. For the first time in months, maybe years, her lungs filled fully. Her heart beat without pain. The weight on her spirit had lifted. "Thank you," she said to the elder. "Do not thank me," he smiled. "Thank yourself." She smiled slightly, her first real smile in a long time. She walked to her hut, painted faintly golden by the sunrise. When she entered, she saw the small carvings of her ancestors glowing softly in the light. She knelt, touched them with gentle fingers, and whispered her gratitude. Her life was changing, but she was ready. She began to pack her things, a few clothes, her herbal pouches, a gourd of water, and her grandmother's cloth wrap. She didn't know where her path would lead, perhaps to her home village, perhaps to a new place, but she knew it would be her choice. Her own. When she stepped outside again, the sun had risen completely. The birds soared overhead, and the warm air smelled of hope. Namaru tied the wrap around her waist, looked once more at the village that had shaped her, hurt her, strengthened her, and whispered a soft farewell. Then she walked down the road, her footsteps steady, toward a new life. Moral lesson. A heart is strongest when it chooses itself. No spirit, no curse, no betrayal has power over a soul that knows its worth. And sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is walk away from what breaks them.